What is good, everybody? Welcome to 16th and 4th, our monthly podcast. My name is LeVar Davis Kidd, but I go by LD. I'm the Worship Arts and Tech Coordinator here at WHCC. On 16th and 4th, we keep it real, we love our neighbors, and we look for where God is already moving. As mentioned last month, you can always catch replays of our in-person Sunday services simply by following our YouTube channel. And if you're in the neighborhood, stop by sometime. You are always welcome here. So I am joined once again by Pastors Stephanie and Keon. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello, hello.
It was good.
Let's do our corner check-in. What is something that is bringing you joy this month?
Should I go first? All right.
Go
What's
ahead.
bringing me joy this month is Beaver Pool and seeing those of you who I see frequently at Beaver Pool. It's been a blast. The other thing that's bringing me joy is we have a lot of popsicle parties on our porch, so the popsicle parties are pretty great.
I love watching my kids just thrive in sports and in activity. So Miles, he's in swimming, Emmett's in baseball. It's been fun to just kind of relax and watch them. And then also kind of our family walks and things like that. So the simple, ordinary things.
Yeah.
Amazing. So today we are actually talking about neighborhood development. That phrase can sound like a grant proposal, a city meeting, or strategic plan, but at Wellington Heights Community Church, neighborhood development is all about people. It's about homes, trust, presence, relationships, listening, and learning how to stay. So today we are going to talk about roots and branches, what keeps us grounded and what grows from that grounding. So my question to the both of you, when Wellington Heights Community Church says neighborhood development, what do we actually mean?
Well, on our website, we define it as co-creating holistic flourishing in Wellington Heights. Want to expound on that, Pastor Keon?
Yeah, I mean, I think oftentimes when organizations, nonprofits, churches see a neighborhood that is under-resourced or whatever you want to call it, oftentimes the approaches are, hey, we saw some things that you need and we're going to come and fix it. We flip it on its head and we say, hey, there are great things, there are great values, gifts, and talents right here in Wellington Heights. Let's come alongside what's there, and let's co-create. Right? Let's see what the neighborhood or what the people say they want, and then we come alongside as mutual, residents, and we co-create together.
Love it. So how, in your opinion, is neighborhood development different from charity?
Yeah, I think charity can be rooted in a savior mentality, can be rooted in like a conquering mentality or having people become more like us, where community development works at the pace of trust and it also addresses the inner work that we need to do to participate in neighborhood development in a healthy, dignifying, holistic way, and one that is sustainable.
Yeah, I think charity often lacks relationship. Mm-hmm. It takes care of the problem. And in some cases, especially in emergency responses, it's very much needed. Mm-hmm. But you only stay at an emergency response for a while. And then what do we do then? And so where community development is different from charity is that there's this intentional long-term relationship that happens, and like Pastor Stephanie said, trust is huge. It's not about the accomplishment, but where we're going together.
Yeah, and it's a multi-sector response. It's not just the church, it's not just the city or nonprofits, business. It's all of us coming together for the good of all.
So when you guys first began this work, what did you assume that then later you had to actually relearn?
I think pace is something I'm constantly relearning. I am action-oriented. I will love a good result, but community development continues to remind me that sometimes the result that we need to see is overcoming my own bias, my own assumptions or gut reactions to things, right? And we can trust that as we are individually being transformed, there is larger, greater community, societal transformation happening at the same time. But slowing things down, not rushing ahead. But when we work together, it slows down the pace. I know back in group project days in school, I was the one to take the lead and rush ahead and get things done, right? But it's not good to do it alone. Like, community development's meant to be done in community. Yeah, so that, of course, is a slower pace.
There's that mentality of, well, I want to be the leader and I know how I want to get it done. Right. So I'm going to do all the work and everyone else is along for the ride, which is not community focused at all.
Yeah, exactly. What's the quote? If you want to go fast, go along. If you want to do it right, then, do it with people.
Right.
Amazing. So this is actually a twofold question. What at Wellington Heights Community Church, or what is Wellington Heights Community Church called to be in as far as the lane in which we are in, and then what is also maybe the lane that we're not in? And maybe this is a good time to expand upon CCDA and our connection with that organization.
Yeah, so we're part of Christian Community Development Association, or CCDA, how you often hear us speak about CCDA. It is a network of Christians, both individual Christians and churches and social enterprises, nonprofits, who are committed to seeing holistic transformation in their communities, all rooted in the way of Jesus. So we're committed to this work of Christian community development, which, if you go on their website, there's 8 key components of how this is lived out. 3 of the big ones is relocation, reconciliation, and redistribution. And with neighborhood development, for us, we're all about flourishing. And so we believe that it is important to have healthy relationships with a wide variety of people and sectors in our community so that we can come together and work for the flourishing of our neighborhood and for all of us.
So if you want to actually, before Pastor Keon jumps in, if you want to learn more about Christian Community Development Association, you can follow them at ccda.org, as simple as that, www.ccda.org.
Yeah, I mean, I think the lane that we're in is really, and Pastor Stephanie mentioned this, but that slow pace. I think that oftentimes when we think about church organization, business in America, it's always results. And when you are when you're focused on relationship, when you focused on kind of going to at the pace of grace, as some seminarians say, you may not always.
Is that a technical term, seminarians?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
I like
it.
When you go at the pace of grace, it's not bad to have goals and things like that, but you have to think more of long term, right? You got to think 15 years. You got to think 20 years. And so for us, we try not to be, and this is going into the question of what is not our lane. We try not to be reactionary. We try to be consistent. We try to be present while things are being chaotic or things are being in the ordinary. We're staying consistent, and that doesn't mean that we're not, reacting to what's going on. It actually means that we're thinking thoughtfully and prayerfully about everything that's going on. How might we join in on it that is sustainable, right? And so.
Yeah, and I think if you come to a Sunday service or participate in Embodiment Sundays or one of our community events, you'll see that this belief of all people being made in the image of God and our communities being a place that should be flourishing is everything from our spiritual practices to our liturgy to the kinds of events we host and the presence that we request at events. And we train folks to participate in such a way. For example, we host a Christmas store in partnership with Faith Life Church, who are using their studio right now. So shout out to Faith Life. And we offer a training, and one of the things we talk about is that during this holiday experience, we don't take any pictures. Our role is to offer a store, a customer service environment, and who wants to have their picture taken when they're at Aldi grocery shopping? I know I do not, or when I'm shopping out and about. That is not my lane. So we want to make sure that we're being welcoming and offering an experience that's dignified and not like a charity experience where we're taking pictures and posting them on social media and patting ourselves on the back. So I'd say it's rooted in everything that we do is our lane of like dignity, listening, mutuality.
Amazing. A question, where did you potentially experience pushback early on? And then twofold with this, where did you first begin to see fruit in this work?
I mean, the first thing that really comes to mind for me, I'm excited to hear what Pastor Stephanie says when it comes to pushback, with kind of the way in which we do things. I think really it comes down to my own pushback, like being a pastor in ministry of churches, over 500 churches, over 2,000, you kind of know the systems, you kind of know the structure, you kind of know those things. And so especially when we started, being neighborhood focused from the beginning, and even our embodiment Sundays that are really not traditional, right? I think the pushback came from, man, are we doing it right? How many people are engaging? Are we, all of those things?
Needs.
Yeah, we're meeting the needs, all of those things, but we stayed consistent and followed the vision that God gave us. And so I think that's the pushback. How about you?
Yeah, I think the pushback that I also sense within myself, and I've had conversations with folks, is that community development requires something of us. Not only of our time and our presence and generosity, but it requires contemplation and inner work. And that can be something that someone may or may not want to engage in and may push back about, or just simply say, nope, that's not for me.
As we have been talking about our neighborhood and neighborhood development, this may sound super cheesy and super corny, but it reminds me of a fictional character, Wilson W. Wilson. Do you guys know who that is?
Mm-mm.
That is Tim the Toolman Taylor's neighbor.
Yes, that's what I was thinking it was, but I wasn't sure. Yeah.
So that neighbor that is there to listen and to provide, like the support that the neighbor needs, not just, I'm going to tell you everything that's going on with me, which in hindsight is kind of what Tim the Toolman Taylor was doing.
Yeah.
But like to be that neighbor that is always kind of that stalwart type of friend that is there, in those ways of supporting. So that just popped into my head.
That's brilliant.
That tells you my age a little bit. So.
Oh, that's a great show.
So here's a question. Why Wellington Heights specifically?
Yeah. This is the place in which God put me and Pastor Stephanie.
It's our neighborhood. We live here.
Yeah. We've always, I think, kind of non-vocal, but maybe vocally said we're always, wherever we're going to go, it's going to be in a similar place like Wellington Heights. Mm-hmm. Often people say like, I want to live where the realtors don't want to show you.
And that's where we choose to buy our houses. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so I think that oftentimes, and again, even the word under-resourced is this illusion that there are no resources, but there are resources. And I believe that those are the places in which Jesus would either dwell or frequent. And so for us, it's not like this patriarchal, Superman mentality. It's really more of like Matthew 25, there I am, right? And I grew up in neighborhoods in a neighborhood like Wellington Heights. And so this is where we find ourselves.
Yeah, this is where we want to call home, and not a pat on our back kind of way, or you should make this decision as well. But this is where we call home, and we see a lot of beauty in Wellington Heights.
And so there is a personal, piece to the flourishing of this mission is the neighborhood in which we reside flourishes as well, right? So like there's kind of this personal, like, I want to see the church thrive because its mission is to see the neighborhood thrive, and the neighborhood is where I live. So
Yes. So we have partnered with a national organization to really understand our neighborhood better. Can we talk just a little bit about the Flourishing Neighborhood Index?
Yeah, we began this process of listening in a formal way with the Flourishing Neighborhood Index. Has it been 3 years now?
yeah.
Yeah. So 3 years ago, in the time of pandemic and our outreach and community development, we did a informal Google survey with our neighbors where we paid them with a gift card. And then I was at a CCDA conference, and one of my colleagues happened to be working for the Flourishing Neighborhood Index. I was like, that would be absolutely incredible to take our Google survey we did back in the pandemic to a next level.
Mm-hmm.
So we began this process of surveying the neighborhood on 3 measures: social, structure, and economic indicators. And from that, we paid neighbors to give the surveys, take the surveys, and then we made meaning of the data together as neighbors and as a wider community. And now we're working on activation of the data of what the hopes and dreams are.
Yeah, and some of the results as priority, because there's lots of results, lots of good conversation pieces, but 3 main priorities is safety and security, community spaces, safety, security, community spaces, and
Grocery.
lighting. And grocery, yeah, groceries and lighting as well in the neighborhood. So, so we're activating those right now with the neighborhood, with organizations that are really want to see the neighborhood flourish. And so it's been a really cool opportunity to build relationships, unlikely relationships that are have started because of the Flourishing Neighborhood Index. So.
And just give sacred space for your voice to be heard. Like when I would do surveys, people say, thanks for listening to me. Like,
yes.
I didn't know anyone wanted to know my thoughts about the neighborhood. So it's just an honor to hold sacred space to listen and to hear from one another.
Amazing. What does it mean for a church to be rooted in a neighborhood instead of just located in a neighborhood? And that is a deep question that connects to this idea of really trying to develop the neighborhood.
Right. I think proximity changes everything, because when we're close, when we're proximate, it changes our response. It compels a different kind of response, one that's not done at arm's length. And I think proximity, when you become one, when we dismantle that us versus them, or I'm helping you, you need my help, but when it's mutual and we see our liberation is bound up with one another, keeps us in the work for the long haul, I think. So proximity for me.
Yeah. Growing up in an under-resourced community, we got a lot of people coming in trying to help us. There was picnics, there was, people, preaching the gospel. There was all types of different bouncy houses and things like that. And, when you're living in the neighborhood, you start to see that, like, you take part in those things, but you start to see that, like, you're the project of those people because you only see them once a year. Mm-hmm. And so it actually builds a kind of a mentality of, like, I'm the one that needs help instead of empowering, right? Mm-hmm. And so what proximity does, what neighborhood development does, is to say, we have a lot to celebrate in this neighborhood, and then how can we work together to not only build those relationships, but find those values, those talents to help the neighborhood become better without outside forces. Now, outside forces are totally welcome, but they come in humility, not as Superman, not as the savior. And so I think it's so important when it comes to that neighborhood development piece. So
Yeah, it almost feels a little bit like teaching the neighborhood how to fish as opposed to providing fish for them.
Right.
Yeah.
It decreases the amount of dependency that somebody needs when you're actually walking alongside of them and providing resources as opposed to just giving them the thing that they are asking for.
Yes.
It's staying in communication and in conversation, which is really, really important. What does it look like to build trust with people in our neighborhood who have been disappointed by institutions before? I'm going to direct this to Pastor Keon first, because I know that you've had experiences with organizations that showed up in your neighborhood as kids, and then funding ran out and that thing just went away and the kids were left wanting.
Yeah, I think that's a good picture. I think building trust, I don't think that the average person is necessarily saying, I don't trust this person. But I do believe that the more you show up and the more someone can see the authenticity and that they're not a project, I think that trust begins, or at least in another way, walls begin to break down. And those walls could be institutions coming in. It could be racial distrust, right? It could be socioeconomic distrust, right? Like the rich are coming in to help us. Those walls break down, and then natural relationships begin to happen. I think, again, it really does go back to proximity, and it goes back to frequency. How often are you coming to actually, get to know people? Like, what is your motive? And so I think that's a huge piece to address.
Definitely. I agree. I think another piece is just that consistency that you've talked a lot about, like a steadiness of presence, that you can know what to expect, and we're going to be here with you and for you because we're fellow humans. There's not like a end goal in mind for you or an expectation of total transformation for us to be in your life and be present with you.
I think, and I want Pastor Stephanie to speak on this, but I think one piece of trust is also understanding your presence. So what I bring as a Black male to a certain neighborhood, right? Knowing the good, bad, and the ugly of what those people would think of me, right? Now, it's so important, especially when white folks come into neighborhoods of color, to understand, not necessarily embody or have to, feel the feelings, but just understand your presence. If you're a white male, 55 years old, coming into a neighborhood that you're the only white male, you at least need to understand if there is some hesitation with receiving you, understand why, understand the history, understand those things.
Yeah, and I think understanding what you're bringing with you, your experiences, your biases, your gut reactions, especially for those of us who are white, the tendency to center our perspectives and our wants and dismiss and reject anything that differs from that. Yeah, understanding your presence is huge, knowing the space you're taking up, knowing how you're showing up, and being mindful of who else is in the room and who needs to have a voice, who needs to have space to share, and is my perspective needed right in this particular moment, or should I just take a beat and listen?
Yep, that listening part. Like, if you're going to come in to anybody's neighborhood, if I were to come into an affluent neighborhood and have a goal to change it, of course they're going to give me pushback, right? But if I came in curious and authentic and humble, they're going to most likely have a better chance of receiving me. And so that it goes always, really. So
humility.
Awesome. What do you, let's direct this to Pastor Stephanie. What do you want the wider church to understand about neighborhood development?
That's a really good question. I feel like I would love for more of us who are following Jesus to see the mandate and the gift it is to be part of community development by loving our neighbors and being present and being proximate, not rushing past people and places, but to become actually present. We see that Jesus went directly through Samaria. He didn't go around it to avoid it. He went through Samaria. And when we first moved to Wellington Heights, I remember hearing stories of people like bypassing Wellington Heights, even though it would have been a lot quicker to probably take 2nd or 3rd Avenue home, but drove around it because they didn't want to be near that place. So I think my hope would be just to become proximate and to see it as part of our walk with Christ, but not in a way that we're conquering or saving people, but simply being present.
Amazing. Let's actually make this local and a bit more concrete. If you can, and by that I meant concrete. I'm not sure what word came out of my mouth just then. I want you to potentially name one local organization, a neighbor, or a leader that people should know about that does work within the Wellington Heights area.
Well, one thing one thing is really important, I think, in the neighborhood when we talk about neighborhood development is if your neighborhood has an association, get involved with that association. I mean, there's always different iterations of associations. I think Wellington Heights has one of the most vibrant associations. And we've heard stories of their association like 30, 40 years ago, and it's always been at least this pillar in Wellington Heights. And so I would say if you're a part of Wellington Heights, get involved with the association. I think it's every second Tuesday at the Wellington Heights Church, and that starts at 7 p.m. Those guys and gals, they are volunteering their time. The board is volunteering their time, and so they're always in need of help. And there's so much information to get your voice heard as well. So,
Go ahead.
Real quick, do you know how people could contact the Wellington Heights Neighborhood Association?
So there's a website, Wellington Heights Neighborhood Association. I think I don't think they do have a Facebook page as well. And yeah, I mean those will really direct you to it.
And Pastor Stephanie?
I think our local schools, our neighborhood schools, are the heartbeat of our community. I think getting to know the leaders there, the students there, and how you may be able to just be part of and witnessing the good that's happening there, because I think there can be a lot of negativity surrounding Wellington Heights. So seeing the good things that are happening in our schools, in the neighborhood, and also there's a lot of known neighbors. I think sometimes we glorify leaders being in this position of power or having esteem and resources and all that, but I know a lot of leaders who are just living faithful, kind, generous lives by being a good neighbor to those who they live right next door to.
Yes.
So that brings me to this idea of every neighborhood holding a storyteller. And there's probably voices in Wellington Heights that really need to be heard. So reach out to those neighbors, reach out to the individuals within the community, and have conversations with people. That's going to help the neighborhood develop as well. So Pastor Stephanie, Pastor Keon, thank you once again for helping us understand neighborhood development in a way that feels human and grounded. I know a lot of these terms can be kind of fly over our heads, so thank you so much for your great explanation today. Also, thank you all, the listeners, for pulling up once again to 16th and 4th. Again, if this episode has helped you think differently about service, partnership, place, Share it with somebody. As simple as that. You can also follow both this podcast and our Sunday service podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And obviously, this is a little bit different since it's video. Again, we have to shout out Faith Life for letting us use their amazing studio here at their church. Next month, we are going to be talking about reconciliation. I'm not really sure why I broke it down like that, but we are going to talk about reconciliation. And this is not in theory. This is real repair. So we will see you next month at the corner of 16th and 4th.